Can you guys hear that?
Legends and Leapers. Leader, you are a leader. You are a leader. Rising right up the ranks. You're a leader.
All right. Good afternoon, and depending on where you are, maybe on the West Coast, good morning. Welcome to Legends and Leapers. No, I'm not Ebony Wimbush. My name is Ramon. I'm the Director of Membership and Industry Engagement with the Airport Minority Advisory Council. And before I hand things over to Lauryn and Martha, I want to make a few announcements from the national office. One of them, it's a big drive for us, the AMAC chapter initiative. So AMAC chapters, we have 6 of them. They are up and running and live. We are now accepting folks who want to become members of these chapters. They are Denver, LA, Portland, Chicago, Detroit, and Baltimore/DC. Again, if you are involved at a national level, you want to be connected on a local level. And we really strongly urge you to become a member of these chapters. You can be a member of as many or as few as you want of these chapters. It's about $50 per person per chapter per year. The only caveat, or at least one of the caveats, is you have to have a national membership in order to qualify. So please, if you want to join an AMAC chapter, go to amac-org.com / membership, and from there you'll have instructions on how to join your the chapter that you would like to be a part of. The second thing I want to go over is I know this is I can't state this enough for all of you members and those in the audience. We have an event calendar. Please, please, please make tremendous use of it. Just go to amac-org.com / events, I believe it is. And from there, we list all the in-person and virtual events that are hosted by our members and our partners. Just a couple of things that are coming up. Tomorrow, Holt Construction, URW, and the Port Authority in New Jersey, they're going to be hosting a virtual event to kind of update you on their work on JFK Terminal 8. They've been having these virtual events, I think, since mid-July or so. Again, that is free. All you need to do is just go to our website and register for the event. It's free. If you happen to be in the airport, the Boston area, Massport is hosting a Business Diversity Summit October 3rd. Again, this is in person, so if you're in the area and you have time to kill, definitely want to attend that. And the last thing we want to do or I want to announce is our third Friday membership meeting. It's going to be October 20th. If you don't know about the third Friday membership meetings, this is kind of our opportunity from the national office as well as our committee chairs to provide all of you members an opportunity just to hear about what's going on at the national office level. The last meeting, as we have been kind of evolving the meeting, we not only just gave a little bit of news from national office level, but we had a guest. Happens to be one of our co-hosts today, Martha Valenzuela. We did a little Q&A. She gave us a little background on her career at journalism AMAC. So listen, I don't think you guys want to hear from me. I'm going to turn it over to Lauryn and Martha because they are far more interesting than I am. So Lauryn, Martha, floor is yours, ladies.
Thank you, Ramon. And no, you are quite interesting. We know we all know and love Ramon. So we appreciate you taking just the time to give us those initial announcements. Always a great way to start out. Hello, everyone. My name is Lauryn Mangum Reed. I am excited to be back. Yay! As you can see, I have run off Ricky Smith, and we have replaced him with Martha Valenzuela, and I am so excited for you to be my co-host this iteration of Legends and Leapers, especially for Hispanic Heritage Month, as we talk everything about Hispanic heritage and the importance, and welcome our amazing panelists. So Martha, I want to give you the opportunity just, to say hello.
Yes, thank you so much. I feel like filling Ricky's shoes, those are some really big shoes to fill. So I'm very honored and happy to be here with all of you today. And I'm excited to be your co-host today and looking forward to a great Legend and Leapers series. And thank you all so much for joining us today to join in on the banter between Lauryn and I and how we really get to the nitty-gritty with Joy and Carlos. So I'm super excited to be here. And I'll turn it back over to you, Lauryn, to kick us off.
Thanks, Martha. So Legends and Leapers, just a little backdrop for those that are not as familiar. we have an awesome program that we've been doing since 2020. One of the first initial virtual events that AMAC was doing, and really just within the industry. And it's completely different than what we're used to, right? This is an opportunity to not sit here and talk about how has COVID affected your business? What are your employments like? You know, have you seen a change in travel? And what is the demographic? No, we actually want to sit and take the opportunity to identify a legend in the industry, and also a leaper in the industry. And now the leaper in the industry, they, you know, can't be quite seasoned, just usually not as seasoned as our legend, but have been making serious headways in the industry and bring a different perspective. And what we do is we see that there are a lot of differences between our legend and our leaper, but also a lot of similarities. So we like to explore that in just an open, transparent dialogue. We have not given Carlos or Joya any type of script, any type of questions, nothing. So Martha and I's job is going to be to stump them. We want them to look up in the air and say, wait a minute, no one's asked me that, or let me think about that, or something along those lines. So hopefully you guys will get to know Carlos and Joya on another level today, and we'll be able to have just some really good dialogue. So I want to start off and I want to talk about Carlos, who is our legend. Carlos is the CEO of Aries USA. He was raised by a single mom. He immigrated from Cuba at the age of 3 and believes that diversity and inclusivity enrich a company and are critical to its success. His successful track record of developing high-performance teams has led multiple businesses across a broad range of private and publicly held companies, including shopping centers, sports venues, and street-side restaurants. Carlos has held senior leadership positions at Delaware North, Westfield, and HMS Host. Throughout his career, he has been passionate about building solid foundations for growth, not just for the companies he leads, but for members of his teams. He establishes the footing for steady and increasing profitability, and also the basis of team members to move forward towards their greatest potential. Many of the people he has mentored are today's corporate CEOs or owners of their own companies. Carlos is currently the CEO of Aries USA. Considered a visionary and strategic thinker, he joined the company in January of 2020 and brings over 30 years of experience in the hospitality industry, many of them in airport businesses. He is best known for managing high-growth companies, repositioning corporate brands, and advancing on the ground's operations. At Aries, he's cultivated leadership that values people first and instills ethnic and cultural diversity as a priority. So Carlos's bio continues on and is lengthy to go and talk about how he has supported so many different organizations within the community.
To include, Carlos, these are good things.
they're absolutely amazing. This is why he's our legend, right?
Right.
So he has also directed Aries investments in nonprofit organizations, such as the National Restaurant Association and its Educational Foundation, the Florida Restaurant and Lodging Association and its Educational Foundation, Homeboy Industries, which I want to know more about, which redirects lives of formerly gang-involved, as well as apprenticeship programs to prepare people with special needs and those transitioning out of the military for hospitality jobs. Arias also regularly supports St. Jude, World Central Kitchen, and USO and American Red Cross. So I'm going to take a sip to wet my whistle to talk about our leaper. Now, Carlos has been in the game for 30 years. Joya Kizer is only 30 years old, and she is the CEO of CASA Unlimited Enterprises Incorporated. Joya has devoted her career to airport logistics, becoming a rare expert in this niche and contributing extensively to major airport ecosystems operations, retail, management, and longevity. As the Chief Executive Officer and President of CASA Unlimited Enterprises, Inc., Joya leverages her airport expertise in her locally owned business to serve and create memorable experiences for thousands of travelers each day. Under Joya's leadership, CASA has been able to expand its footprint in Phoenix Sky Harbor International Airport with retail, service, and beverage locations. Her ability to forge joint venture partnerships and new alliances with major brands has allowed her to build CASA's portfolio while still maintaining the high levels of customer service and satisfaction that are synonymous with the CASA name. CASA currently operates 3 stores in Terminal 4 and joint ventures with Stellar, Marshall, In Motion, and Express Spa. Joya has been the recipient of several awards for her leadership, including Arizona State University Sun Devil 100 Award for exemplary leadership, an Airport Experience News nominee, 40 Hispanic Leaders Under 40, Univision and Bella del Sol, and the ASU Spirit of Enterprise nomination with W.P. Carey School of Business. Whew. So like I said, our leaper always, a lot of times has a lot of skin in the game, has really forged their way through this industry. They just maybe have been doing it for as long as our legend, but I'm so excited to have this discussion and have Martha join me for this conversation, really geared towards Hispanic Heritage Month and getting to know Joya and Carlos a little bit better.
Yes. Should we
Thank
jump
you.
off and start with the questions, or how do we
Let's
want
do
to
it.
do it? Yeah. All right. Well, given that it's Hispanic Heritage Month, and I think that understanding and knowing our roots and where we come from is so important and oftentimes really steers some of our career path and decisions. I'm so curious to hear a little bit more from the both of you as it relates to how did your upbringing and early experiences shape your career path and your journey from Cuba or your journey just through the industry. How did that really shape your career path into launching you to where you're at today?
So I guess that's me, Martha. But well, first of all, Lauryn, thank you for using season versus saying old. So I appreciate that part. No, I think my appreciation for what people go through really was, I think, born from things that you experience in your life, right? So coming over from Cuba, my parents came over, and I did. And when you come over as an immigrant, and you're leaving a country that has political persecution, if you will, and you're trying to get out. I mean, basically, you leave with your suitcase, and that's it. So imagine, leaving a country, and we're seeing it every day today in our country is what's happening here. But leaving a country and all you have, your personal belongings are in one suitcase, and that's all you have. So I think, when I look back to my family and being younger, and you don't know what you know, because that's what you're living in, and that's okay, because that's the life you're living. And so as you get older, I think for me, what it's done is to have an appreciation for the struggles that people go through, and the things that you have to do and the work you have to put in to continue to grow and develop and get to for yourself and your family, get to a better place. And and those are the types of, I think, things like that, just really, I think you, as an individual, just make you stronger and provide you the fortitude really to take on things that, you probably say, well, that's hard. Yeah, well, you've already had a struggle. So yeah, we'll get through this as well. So I think, whether it's that or any life experiences that you have, good or bad, I mean, I think they're all, kind of building blocks to what makes you as an individual, what makes you stronger, what gives you the capabilities to, take on new challenges, and also gives you the humanity to appreciate and value, what other people are going through in their lives and what they're going through, and, kind of their day-to-day existence and things that they're having to do. So, having an opportunity to walk in different shoes, if you will, I think it just kind of maybe softens you a little bit and helps you to put out a hand and maybe have a little bit more patience with certain things at certain times in your day, and especially in your professional life, right? And
Right.
giving an opportunity to want to see somebody get to next, with whether it's Joya, at 30, running her own company, and whoever else it may be, the dishwasher or the cook in your business that most likely has a very similar story, so anyway, I'll stop there. I think there's more. I could probably keep talking about it, but we'll leave it there for now.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing. And Joya, how about you on your end? How has your journey been, and what inspired you to focus on your current career path and what you're doing right now with airport logistics and the different stores you have?
So I have a little bit of a different story because I am a second generation airport concessionaire. So my parents, specifically my mother, entered the industry when the ACDBE program was first introduced to Phoenix, which was when Terminal 4 was built. We entered into, not we, I was a little bit younger then, although I thank you for the 30 shout out, plus, maybe. But I was significantly younger. And so my mom's journey was really the introduction to the airport industry. But as far as culturally, I think, you know, I again sit in a special place in terms of the fabric of our country, because on my dad's side, I'm fifth generation Arizonan. So really the border came to my family. Originally, we were here first. And while on my mother's side, both of her parents were immigrants, and they raised me. So I have a real strong influence from both, you know, kind of vantage points. And also my parents were very active civil rights activists in the farm union organization in Southern California, and as it came to Arizona. And so that has always really significantly impacted our role as business owners, because we never really distinguished the separation between business opportunity and community responsibility and the role as an employer and the role as you know, a vendor or a proprietor of goods and services. So all of those have always been really enmeshed in our culture, our family culture, and an extension as our business culture of how we navigate the space around us. I think more holistically than kind of a lateral question might kind of seem in what does business mean to you because of your background.
Nice. Thank you both for sharing. That was great.
So, Carlos, you are first generation.
Yes.
Joya, you are a fifth generation Arizonian. That is amazing. Tell me just a little bit about first off, I just want everyone to know Hispanic Heritage Month is September 15th through October 15th. I don't know who decided that those were the days and, you know, start in the middle and end in the middle of the month. Maybe someone can shed some light to that. But what does being a Hispanic American and what does a Hispanic Heritage Month mean to you personally?
Do you want me to go first?
No, please.
Joya? Okay. By the way, Joya, that was a great story too. You know, the thing I'll say is it's interesting to me how the things that happen within your family life, how that helps you to be a leader, and how you lead your team and take care of your team and work with your vendors, and you know, just yeah, you know, it's pretty impressive. So thanks for sharing that. No, I think for me, just you know, this is going to sound silly, maybe not sound silly, but you know, I'm appreciative that there's an acknowledgement of what Hispanics, Latinos have, how we've, you know, participated in the growth of this in this country to a large degree. You know, a lot of Hispanics and Latinos are the laborers that are building homes, that are farming, that are providing food on the table, that are doing all the hard jobs that nobody wants to do. So, you know, I don't view it so much as maybe so much as an acknowledgement for Joya and I, maybe necessarily, but really an acknowledgement for, you know, what that to a large degree, what the immigrant community is doing to build this country, maintain, and doing the work that needs to happen to continue building this country. I mean, but yeah, so I think that's what it means to me. I don't know if I view it as a celebration of me personally, quite frankly. But I think it's more about those that maybe came before and those that are kind of doing the things that they do every single day for our country.
I think for me, where it makes me kind of land is, you know, Hispanic small businesses and specifically Latina-owned businesses are amongst the highest growing population of businesses in our country. And there's a lot of nuance in that, from our economic impact to our roles as employers, because we touch people and communities in a much more direct way than maybe bigger corporations have the ability to do so. And so, we being in the weeds a little bit more, there's a difference in kind of again, how we sustain the community around us, both, as a small company, our company community, and the community around us. And so I think when I think of Hispanic Heritage Month, it's kind of that recognition of our significance in the population. And I mentioned us as employers, but certainly us as consumers, and where we are in the market, and the impact that we have towards having a voice and having the strength in our population numbers to impact the way we see the world and how we are represented.
And Joy, you made a really good point. We actually should have started off with DJ Khaled, "We Taking Over," because I don't know what the year is, but in the near future, I believe that the Latin Hispanic population is actually going to become the majority, and no longer the minority. So it makes sense from an economic standpoint, from a spending dollar, from even a business standpoint, that you guys are truly taking over. And I love it, because the stories that you hear, whether you're fifth generation Arizonian and you were here, you're first generation, but the stories that you hear really speaks volumes. And also, one of the things that I hear both of you guys say several times, and we just started, was community. And what your history individually, personally, right, means for your community, and the ways that you encompass your community in everything that you do. Can you both speak to, and Joy, I want you to go first. Can you both speak to what that looks like specifically and what that means?
So my role as CEO, I have my list of responsibilities for my job, and my space in my community work is part of that. So I infuse that into my daily or weekly kind of scope of work. And the kind of the surface level look at that is I sit on boards and committees. So I donate a lot of my personal time and resources to community organizations, nonprofits. Education right now is a big focus of mine, and legislative committees, things like that. On the smaller, well, maybe not smaller, but I'll use some examples of, we just finally did a little spring cleaning at our office, and which had been a long time coming. And we donated all of our old desks, bookshelves, file cabinets to a local charter school down the street from us. So we gave them all those resources, extra office supplies. We donated the rest of our kind of condemned, we're retailers, so we have condemned inventory or samples that we kind of collected and gave to a local community group that supports the homeless and other low income or impoverished communities. So we gave them a bunch of our resources too. We're very intentional about things like when we closed for COVID, when we had to remove all the perishables from our stores, our first round was for our team. We sent them back home with big bags of deli and chips and that kind of stuff. But we were very closely followed by our neighbors at nonprofits that target youth at risk, or any city's youth that are maybe below the poverty line, because we know that a lot of those children rely on school lunches for sometimes their only significant meal of the day. And so we were very intentional about getting food to local organizations. They happen to be our neighbors downtown Phoenix, but very intentional about getting food to people that can directly use those types of resources. So our touch points, we try to be both big and small. We're very intentional about how we try to directly touch some of these organizations. One of the newer ones we're working with is the Arizona National Guard Association. And so we were really happy to be able to donate all their local Arizona swag as they represented our state at their national conference recently. So they were pretty excited to be giving out our local hot sauces and and those types, and t-shirts and that kind of stuff. So a little bit of how we touch our community work.
I love that. Carlos,
Yeah.
talk a little bit
Same question?
about, talk a little about just, the importance of community and specifically, what you're doing as far as the community is concerned. And
Yeah.
I want to be more specific as far as the of community from Hispanic and from a Latinx perspective and the importance of that.
Yeah. I think for us is maybe slightly little different than Joya, because I think Joya's, very targeted, and being an Arizona company and kind of Phoenix area company. For ours is a little different. We're a national company, so we're in 10, 11 major cities in the US. So for ours, it's a little bit, I guess, centralized and decentralized. So some core, and you mentioned some of those, Martha, early on with introducing me in terms of some of the nonprofits that we work with. The thing that we do really encourage among our team, and one of the things that we're big on is saying wherever we are, whatever business we're involved, wherever that may be, it's very important for us, and I can't do it, but it has to be at the local level, that we become a fabric of the community. And that encourages our team members at the specific business units. And some of them are just a connectivity with some of the national charities that we'll sponsor throughout the year, different fundraising events, or a day of caring that we go through with that specific charity. You mentioned Homeboy, Martha, in terms that's an organization in Los Angeles that rehabilitates gang members and helps them get back into society, and either after they've been in prison or what have you, or just wanting to get out of a gang. And we've been working with them, I don't know, about 8 or 10 years now, and we've contributed over $4 million towards the charity in the time that we've been in partnership. So that's a really meaningful, very sticky relationship that we have with them. And our team just ran a 5K fundraiser like last weekend or what have you. So it's one of the things that we try not to push down too heavily from the headquarters corporate side of things, but really want it to be more grassroots and allow our team to really kind of put the muscle behind it at a local level. And we allow them to do that in a certain way. One of the things that we do, we've created probably a few years ago, about 3 years ago now, we call it Iris Cares Day. And everybody gets 5 days on, not vacation, not sick day, not anything like that. And the Iris Cares Day, it's up to one of our team members to say, I'm gonna use it to go, build a house or help build a house with Habitat for Humanity or whatever. And we've sponsored them before. Or I need to take my sick daughter to the hospital, to the doctor, or whatever it may be, not to have to use another day for doing that. So we try to encourage, again, back to the theme of being kind of fabric in the communities that we work and live in, and that's really how we try to do it maybe from a more broader level than just being specific to being a company specific to a geographical area.
Nice, that's great. One thing I'm curious and would love to know a little bit more about. So it sounds like in reading and hearing your guys' bios that mentoring and from Hispanic heritage and from just culturally mentoring and bringing in each one teach one type of mentality. What is your what would you say, what are some of the common leadership strategies that you found effective when mentoring and even identifying who would be a good mentee or a potential mentee, and how do you guide them towards success?
Me or Joya?
For both of you, whoever wants to go first.
I hate to keep going first, but I think that I just speak for me. I've been fortunate that I've had some really good mentors in my career, and leaders that I've had a tremendous amount of respect for, and so I've been lucky in that regard. And the other thing I'll say, I've also had some people I've worked with that one of those note to self, don't ever do that again moments in life, right? So I think what I look for personally in a mentee, if you will, type of relationship is someone that's that is driven, is committed, is smart, is has the work ethic. It's this business is not a 32-hour a week work week, and when you're in the hospitality business, which is the business that we're in, it's a hard job. And so, you have to have somebody that really are passionate to be in this business. This isn't being in a business that you're of service to other people, which is really what we do, is not an easy job. And it's not for everybody. So finding that individual, that diamond in the rough, that truly sees this as, hey, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to aspire to, and how I want to grow. So some of the traits in terms of, hard work, dedication, being smart, being, kind of, I hate to say the term, a people person, but that has empathy, but has determination to see things through as well. So I guess, I don't know if that answered the question necessarily, Martha, but I mean, I think there's some pros in terms of, I've been fortunate, I've had some mentors that I like to mimic and admire and be more like. And then on the mentee side, some of the things I mentioned in terms of some of the, I would say, attributes or traits that I would look for. And if somebody wants to be mentored as well, right? So I think that's equally as important, that someone's really committed to doing the work and showing up and being responsible and to that relationship that you have.
Absolutely. And how about for you, Joya?
I agree. I think my number one would be a growth mindset. So I think a little bit more heavy in the entrepreneur space. And so there's a lot of dynamics that come with that kind of energy, and that the ability to kind of pivot or shift or take, opportunities as they come, preparedness for opportunities, that kind of stuff. So that kind of dynamic thinking, that openness, that ability to receive, are really critical traits that I look for when I like to work with people, but also I think that are specifically strong in the entrepreneur conversation.
I think to piggyback a little bit on Joya, one of the things that, I look for is kind of she's an entrepreneur, and I have the tremendous respect in terms of what she does every single day. And I look for people who are entrepreneurs that are able to take those kind of skills that she has in terms of running her business and having to make payroll, having to pay the bills, and it's her bank account that she's doing it out of, but bring that mentality and that drive and commitment that this is yours, even though you may not own the company. We want people who want to, that this is their company and treat it that's their company. So I think that would, finding that entrepreneur that's, isn't quite cut out to be an entrepreneur, but has that drive and skill set is a great mentor, I would say. So if you have anybody that's listening, please call me at, no, just kidding. But seriously, yeah, call me.
Carlos is actually being serious. He's going to throw his phone number in the chat.
Yeah. Doing a little recruiting while I'm online here. So nothing wrong with that, right?
Maximize the opportunity, Carlos. Okay.
I'm going to change my backdrop in a minute, and you'll see a phone number pop up.
Flashing. Job positions scrolling.
The day and age we live in, we know you got to get real creative, right? Yep. So by any means necessary.
Quite literally.
So, we talked about, where you guys are, right? And what you guys are doing really to pay it forward. But how did you get here? Joya, you're second generation. Carlos, I mentioned that. And speaking of which, Carlos, I'm gonna give you a hard time. You keep giving Martha credit for these bios. I literally used every breath that was left inside of me to read both bios in record time and articulate them. I just want to throw that out there.
Good job. Where's my clap emoji? Hold on.
Thank you.
Where is that?
I mean, Ricky doesn't give me enough credit. That alone takes talent. Whew. All right. I'm like, need my inhaler. So where was I? Joya, so you're second generation, right?
Yes,
And you're also a fellow Sun Devil.
yes.
Were you know, 5, 10, 12 years old and be like, oh my goodness, I see my mom working so hard day in and day out. She's like stressed, but excited and, you know, doing so much. This is amazing. I want to do this too.
No, not a chance. Not a chance. And I tell people, you know, nobody fills out that little questionnaire they give you in kindergarten. You know, I want to sell peanut M&Ms at airports. No, nobody's doing that. So it's not happening. And my degree was actually in zoology. So when my mom said, hey, you know, maybe you should get a business degree, I was like, that's a solid no for me.
Zoology.
We're gonna get there, Martha. We're gonna
Yes, okay.
we're not
So
letting her run with that
that
one.
was a
Okay.
no. And that was a path. And then, you know, I got my first internship with HMS Host, and then that was it. So,
No,
and I think it's
Joya, you got to go backwards. So
Okay.
you got a degree in zoology,
yes,
which you were planning on being a
forensic entomologist.
okay. Also, something that usually people don't say when they're in kindergarten. What do you want to be, a forensic entomologist? So there's that. So you can't say I got my degree in zoology and oh, I interned for HMS Host. So did mom have something to do with that? Like how did you how did you go from walking down the stage, zoology, forensic entomologist, I got this, to Bethesda?
Yeah. So my senior year, I was working on a grant at ASU. I was in the social insect department. So we're working on a grant with honeybees. And so that grant ended a few months before my graduation. And so I didn't want a real job because I was trying to focus on finishing school. And my mom said, you know, you can come and spend some time in the warehouse. We need somebody to do data entry and blah, blah, blah. And so I showed up, and then they hired for a buyer position for Phoenix branch. They had a team of buyers and a warehouse team. And my mom had her joint venture. That's how she started in the airport. She was a joint venture partner with HMS Host on the retail side. And so that's how I first came in. And I was like, whoa, like what's happening here? It's such a dynamic industry. And what I found, to shortcut through that early part of the story, is I think it's specifically geared towards people like me that probably have ADHD and don't know it. But you know, there's always, you know, there's things happening all the time. You're never sitting still. And even though I'm a second generation in this area, you know, we don't have any of the contracts that my mom had when she started. None of those exist at this point. And so it's not, you know, kind of like the physical space or the same retail, not to put any of those second generation businesses down that have sustained, you know, kind of a path, a clear path and identity. But this isn't that business. So, you know, you have to always be building as you're operating in this environment. And so we transitioned, or my mom did the original transition from a joint venture partner to a owner operator. So won her first contracts. I came in at a point when HMS Host was restructuring their buying department. And so I took a severance agreement from Host at that point in my life, and then came to work for my mom at some time after that. And so then she really started to build her footprint as a prime operator. So I got the exposure early on from both a big corporate organization, as my mom did, with the training from HMS Host, and then the entrepreneur component from my mom with smaller scale businesses, and kind of that, again, you're in there touching every piece of everything. So I was the first accounting, you know, bookkeeper. I was the first buyer. I was, you know, I was the manager slash, store clerk at some points, most of the points, and all that kind of stuff. And so that has been kind of my journey as we have moved through it, is continuing that owner operator is a significant part of what we do. We design our own stores. We have proprietary brands. So we source our own product, design our own stores, hire and train our own staff, develop our own processes and procedures. We're fully integrated all that. We do our own supply chain to and from. We have a distribution center to and from our airport. And then we also joint venture, as I found early on when my mom suddenly retired due to medical reasons, that these are short contracts and they are not sustained forever. And we almost closed as a company at that point. And so having to rebuild that and learned a lot of hard lessons at that point to say, what does our portfolio look like? How does what are the economics of revenue streams as they come and go? What are the opportunities around small businesses? And how do we start to leverage our strengths and our unique differentiating factors to really build a business that speaks directly to who we are and what our strengths are? If that answered, I don't even remember what the first question was.
No,
so
that
might
that
have been
that-
it.
It was great.
No, it did. It did. It truly did. I'm still stuck on the zoology and the forensic entomologist. I'm probably saying that wrong. But it's always so interesting to hear people's journeys. Because to your point, I don't think I may have talked to maybe like one or two people, especially, typically when you even second generation, third generation, their story was never like, I saw my parents busting their ass and this is what I want to do. It always it takes so many dips and turns. But zoologist is the first one. This is the first for me. So I appreciate that, Joya.
A little bit of a leap. But you know what, and people, will say that to me if we happen to have that conversation. But really, I think school and education, which we're very passionate about, is really a tool for developing problem solving and critical thinking, and that kind of platform is really where the strength is. And if you can learn to apply that. And so when I started my career as a buyer, that really wasn't that much of a shift. It required, certain organizational practices that were very, in alignment with the lab, maintaining a genetics lab, and doing those types of studies, and also analysis. So, I think that probably really put me in a position where I'm very attuned to behavioral patterns and that kind of stuff. So I can see analysis when I read spreadsheets. I can see pattern flow when I look at my customers and my employees and that kind of thing. So there's, translatable traits, even though there's not direct educational maybe application.
But your mother knew that when she was double dutching, just waiting for her opportunity to get you just a little taste to get
like,
you into the business.
Twice a week in the warehouse.
Oh, yeah, it'll be an internship. No pressure, and then you can go do what you want. And then she was like, she's hooked.
Yeah, that was it. That was it for sure.
I love it. So Carlos, I know that you have held senior leadership positions with Delaware North, Westfield, HMS Host. Were you in kindergarten saying, I want to be the CEO of a airport concessionaire? Like, was that no? Okay.
No, not at all. I want to be a bus driver, actually. So
Tell us more.
Yeah. So, as you said, raised by a single mom. My mom was a seamstress. So we used to take the bus a lot, right? Back, and this is really going to show my age now. So the buses back then had, little coin machines that you'd put the money in and the thing go in, then you got to the bus. But maybe not everybody here is ever taking a bus or is familiar what that is. But I used to thought that was the coolest job. So someone's paying you and they get to drive all over the city. You get to meet these people every day. Everybody knew the bus driver's name. So in my mind, I'm a little kid, I don't know, 4 or 5 years old. She's dropping me off at school. I'm saying, wow, what a cool job. I want to be a bus driver. So anyway, that was my career aspiration as a young kid, is to be a bus driver. But no, for me, not as impressive a story as Joya, but I just kind of fell into it. And maybe you did as well, right? It sounds like it. A good buddy of mine, went to school together, going to college during the day. He ended up getting a job at the Meadowlands racetrack, if anybody remembers where that is or what that is, in New Jersey. And I took a job with Harry M. Stevens, which is a similar business, food service, retail, and sports entertainment facilities. And anyway, while I was going to school, working nights and doing all that, what was a part-time gig, ended up becoming a full-time job, a little promotion and here and there. Before you know it, 30-something years later, I'm still in the hospitality business at different points along the way in different companies and different jobs, but wasn't anything that was, I would say, a lot of people know they want to get into this industry. They'll either go to culinary school or travel hospitality degree of some sort. But no, it's just kind of fell into it. And to Joy's point, it is so chaotic, so crazy, and I think I do have ADD as well. So you have to have I tell people the job, our industry, this is full body contact. This is not for the faint of heart. What we do is hard, and we do it every single day, and the hours are long, and the work is hard. So I just enjoyed it, and every single day is a different day. The challenges are different. You have an opportunity, which we talked a little bit about earlier, to, as you go up the leadership change, you have an opportunity to make a meaningful impact in someone's life, right? To help them along the way, right? And it's one of the things I'm passionate about, to be able to do that. And in my role today, I can impact that even more. So yeah, so it wasn't planned, but I can tell you, I wouldn't do anything different than I'm doing today, and enjoy what I do, and hopefully continue doing it for many years to come. But it's a great industry. So anybody that may be on the, again, 1-800, no, anybody that's listening in, that I would highly encourage to consider this as a career, whether it's on the retail side, whether it's on the food and beverage side, or the airport side, or whatever side it may be. It's a great career, and it's call me.
Just kidding. Carlos is like, swipe right all areas, swipe right. So
Pick me.
Carlos, it's funny, right? Because you're such a, I know you heard the word, but people person, but you do have such a passion for people and community, right? So I can see why, especially, back in the day, like the bus was the community. You knew everybody's names. You guys were all taking the same route, the whole nine. So I can see why being a bus driver actually piques your interest. Being able to explore a new area, being able to see people that and then knowing your name, etc. But I will say that the aviation industry is very happy that you decided not to be a bus driver, and that you pivoted just a little bit. Yeah. We definitely appreciate that. Not quite sure what we do without you. There was a comment in the chat from John who said, Hispanic entrepreneurs are helping power America's small business boom. More than 5 million Latino-owned businesses contribute $800 billion annually to our economy. I feel like, one, thank you, John, for doing the homework for me. Two, no one talks about that, right? And not to get into the weeds and politics and everything else, but very rarely is that a statistic or a fact that we hear. Carlos, you are the CEO of a large corporation. Joya, you are the president and CEO of a smaller, but still very large in its own right, corporation as well. What are you all doing to help promote and drive those Hispanic entrepreneurs and small businesses to continue to create and contribute to that economic boom? Yes, I did it. Yeah, I did it. I was waiting for it, Martha. They both paused.
Rock, paper, scissors.
Silence. Everybody on mute.
Yeah. So I think for us, a couple things that we do, some of it organically and some of it intentionally, is, we have a lot of women and ethnic minority women in positions of leadership. So almost our entire leadership team are women of ethnic backgrounds. And so, what that does for us is change the decision-making conversations and what we look at through a different lens. So I think that kind of leads from the start, and that's a little bit more organic. But we do intentionally work with local businesses that are, so local is very important to us, but women-owned business and businesses of color are very important to us. And we know that when we engage with them, and so part of it, intentionally targeting doing business with those, is understanding that they're going to take a different scope of work to come up to meet our volume of production if they're vendors, or, sometimes we have to teach vendors, what a packing slip is, or, how to generate an invoice, or, how to package their product. Sometimes, we give them art, to put on their labels, or, bring them in to sit and talk through, what volume we're going to look like, and just we adopted a little bit of a mentoring position when we intentionally seek out those types of businesses. Now, I'll say the industry has come a long way from the vendor side. When I first started in this industry, it was incredibly difficult because the manufacturing ability wasn't there, their understanding of marketing, imagery, all that kind of stuff. Now, when we get new vendors come in, they have a whole Instagram page, and all their visual, is real tight. They've got all that, they're kind of dialed into all that, and they have the resources to manufacture at a volume that we need at an airport level, which is different. But we put ourselves, we organize ourselves in that relationship, that we give time to support those types of communities and those vendors. So where we don't exclusively target Latinas, we do gravitate towards, women-owned businesses, and provide resources around, those types of training and support.
So yeah, it's kind of a little bit, I mean, for us, we don't specifically target Hispanic companies. So, for us, whether it's whatever company may be, or ethnicity it may be, black, brown, whatever color you may be, we want to do business. So we want to help smaller companies, minority-owned companies in general, just get to next. And however we could do that to help. AMAC's a great, to give you guys a plug, a great place to start that, right? Clearly in our businesses, in the airports, we're required by contract to provide a certain percentage of our business, whether through partnerships, joint ventures, procurement, purchasing, whatever. So we do that every single day in kind of the normal course of our business. But for us, we don't target a specific group or whatever. We just look to work with smaller minority-owned companies, and that can provide the product at the quality and the pricing that we all need. So, and the big part of that is to ensure that you're not playing favorites with any one group, because then that would be wrong. That defeats the whole idea of the program. But that there is a level playing field. That's really what the intent of this whole is, right? And that's what we try to do, is to ensure that there's a level playing field, and to help. And sometimes you have to help a company that may not have the sophisticated systems and things like that. But so you have to, kind of work with them a little bit more. But yeah, it's not I know it's Hispanic Heritage Month and all that, and appreciative of the billions of dollars and all that. But for our company, it's just, hey, we want to work with all smaller minority-owned companies that we can, and that's our way of helping. I mean, and certainly, especially in the communities because that's really where you impact it more so, in the communities that that we have businesses in. So yeah, that's our approach.
Great. What advice would you each give to aspiring leaders in the hospitality and business sectors? Given both of your extensive experience, what advice would you give somebody that's looking to land that first joint venture or that first contract? For those that might be participating with us today that are looking for some advice, what would you give?
I would tell them to call Joya. So no, seriously. I mean, I think for sorry, Joya, and you could reach her at So I think it's important, clearly, to meet with us, but to learn, and again, back to an AMAC relationship, to learn from other smaller minority-owned companies, to understand their story. I can't tell it as good as Joya can tell it. So I was kidding, but I wasn't kidding. She could really help mentor and tell and share her wins, her losses, the struggles. And she just said she almost went out of business because she lost a contract, right? Our contracts are very short term, they're not forever.
More than once.
Yeah. So I think speaking with someone like that who's been there, and those are, again, back to an entrepreneur, every decision that they make could be a death kill, right? you make a bad call, it could put you out of business, right? We're a bigger company. Hopefully I don't make many bad decisions, but if I do make a bad call, it most likely will not put me out of business or put our company out of business because we're a much bigger company. But whatever she does, whatever call she makes, can be a bad call, and it could be a problem. So that would be my recommendation to any aspiring entrepreneurs who want to get into this business, is to find a Joya or someone like her within the industry to understand what it takes to do it. And you need capital, right? And you need money. And that is something I think that if I could lobby here on one point, that the federal government needs to step in if in fact that they want to have ACDB and ACDB requirement in these airport programs, they need to find a way to help fund the ACDB programs, right? Because that is probably the single biggest challenge that an ACDB has today, and to get into the business, be able to get a bank loan. Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox on that topic and let Joya answer the question.
Thank you, Carlos. So yeah, I think that the first step is exposure. So things like this, things like our conference, understanding the playing field that you're wanting to get on and what role you're going to play in that game, so to speak. And so, just really understanding the dynamics of the industry best you can. Another point is understanding your risk tolerance. Like Carlos said, if we just line up, Carlos and I up, both of our business cards say CEO on it. But in this industry, and we both own airport concessionaires, if he makes a bad call and the store isn't profitable, like you said, it's not likely to put his company out of business. I leverage my house, my mortgage, all my personal assets are leveraged against the loans to build these stores. And so if I go out of business, I not only lose my business, but my personal assets are at risk in this industry. That's the way it's designed for ACDBEs to enter what they call skin in the game type of thing. So there's nuances that are tricky in this arena. And so getting a good grasp on what those risks are and what your tolerance level for those are, I think are really important. And luckily we have organizations like AMAC and some of our other industry colleagues that do conferences annually that help fill in those gaps. But this is a heavily compliance-laden industry, different from other, I think, retail, what we call street retail and food. And so understanding all the players, which is, again, a very complex system. And so what worked well for us and what to me feels like a likely safe entry point is a partnership, or at least a mentorship under somebody, maybe a sublet where you have a little bit of an umbrella to shield you as you're still gathering all that information and position yourself in the right spot. It's a little bit of a harder industry to just jump in and take that leap in. So in my experience, at least, I think but I'm a little bit more cautious on my risk aversion. So that's my comfort zone, at least. But there's a lot of content in here that is very unique to our industry, and it takes a long time to absorb. I still feel like I'm still like just absorbing it lots of times, like, oh, that's why we do that. And that's why that thing's there. So yes.
So I know that we're getting towards the top of the hour, and I have so many more questions. So we are going to get into a little bit of after show. It's not going to be too long, but I want to make sure that Ramon, I don't know, for those that go to church, you have announcements in the beginning, and then they give you a little extra announcement just in case you forgot at the end too. So I want to give it back to Ramon just for a moment.
Well, no announcements here, but if you're Catholic, and for those who kind of backed out after communion and you're still here, that's great. I'm glad you joined on. I truly enjoyed I enjoyed all this, as I do all of the Legends and Leapers, and probably more so because I do know Carlos and enjoy very well. Shout out to Joya Kizer, by the way. So anyway, I don't have anything else, but if you guys want to continue and have the Lauren, what do we call it? Do we call it the after party, the after show?
It's the after show. Yes, the after
this
show.
is still a family of family programming, so it's the after party, or
well, it's the after show, so it's kind of like if you have to put the kids to bed, you can, but like I definitely recommend staying. But there may be some like, hey, earmuffs, I don't know. I can't. I'm not held liable for what happens in the after show, which is why I actually like the after show the most.
Is it
Well,
being recorded? Number one question, is it being recorded? So
well, I was going to say that. Thank you, Lauren,
Thank you.
getting me it out. Because Miss Wimbush will be reviewing this later, Lauren. So on that note, thank you to everyone. Thank you to the panelists. And I will leave it to Lauren and Martha if you guys want to continue. And anyway, please look forward to our next Legends Leapers. We'll be announcing who those folks will be soon. And thank you again. Take care.
I love John. John said parking lot conversations. That's
Right?
what we
I
call,
saw that.
Legends and Leapers in the parking lot. So Carlos, I feel like you deferred to the last question because, you know, a lot of times when we ask how do we get into the industry, we always think from a business perspective, right?
Yeah.
But there's so many people on the line that may or may not be looking for a new employer, Carlos. That, you know, may or may not want to swipe right on Carlos and Arius, but you know, what does that look like for you as the CEO, as someone who has grown in leadership positions throughout the industry? Is like, what's a good way to really get your footing and grow?
You know, I think Joya and Joya's mom, right? Go work for one of the bigger companies, right? I think if you're interested really in go learn on somebody else's dime, right? So if you're really interested in doing this, and I've worked for many companies, and I've started at the bottom. I've done every single. The old saying, I would never ask. Well, my saying is, I would never ask someone to do something I haven't already done, right? And that's true. So I think you've got to, go learn. And I tell my daughters the same thing. When they're older now, but go work for a big company first, so you can understand all the systems, processes, and all the how-tos to do things, right? And then if you want to do something entrepreneurial, then you've got the building blocks already, right? If you're trying to figure it out when you're an entrepreneur, just say, hey, I've got a great idea. I'm gonna bet the house on this one. I don't know if that's a good idea, right? So go learn the business, figure out what you like, what you don't like. Pick up the good things and well, I could do it better things, and put that to the side and then do it better, right? So I think that would be my biggest tip for anybody that is still online. Is just go work for some of the bigger companies, whether it be a retail company or another HMS host or someone else like that, and Delaware North or SSP, somebody like that. They're all good companies, and we all compete, but they're all good companies, right? So that's what I would do.
And then people do want to know how to get in touch with you guys. Carlos will actually be virtually standing at the end of the meeting in the back of the room, handing out business cards. But no, both of them are on LinkedIn. So feel free to go on LinkedIn and follow them, send them a message, send Carlos your CV, little resume action, and he'll know exactly where you came from. Another question that came in is, what has been your greatest personal challenge in achieving the success you have today? Personal challenge, guys. I know we've been talking real business heavy, but personal challenge, and it's in your greatest personal challenge in achieving your success today.
Well, maybe I'll give it a shot, and Joya, you flip it over to you. It's not an easy business. I think we talked about that, and I think balancing the quality of life and the family life and the work life and those things, it is tough, because these are not, this is where everybody stops applying for the job. These are not 8-hour days, and when everybody's enjoying a Labor Day or a Memorial Day or whatever day that there's a holiday, if you're in operations, you're working that day. And I've done it in my career with the family, and it's always who's doing the 4th of July barbecue, and you're working, right? So I think getting into the business, I think that is and I think it's different today. I think today's I would say younger generation, right, and whatever millennial or whatever, wherever we at and all that stuff, which I'm still trying to figure out. I'm trying to figure out, but it is a little different, because I think today people do want to understand that they do have quality of life. So, and I think organizations like ours and others are more understanding of those things, and we certainly try to be in our company. but it's still a hard job, and it's still, you know, a lot of cases it's not an 8-hour day, and a lot of cases you're still working holidays. That's just that's the work. So I think the balance of quality of life, family life, work life, and how those all kind of collide together somehow, that is the hardest thing to figure out.
And what do you do? What do you do to address that challenge?
Well, I think the things, my personal thing has always been, you know, at least with my daughters when they were growing up, if I was in town, I was there. I was at the tennis match, I was at the soccer match, I was at whatever match, and I made a point if I was there and did everything I possibly could to be there for those events, because I think that was important to them. And I couldn't be at every one, unfortunately. So I always tried to make the time and work my schedule around those types of things. So you need to keep doing. I tell people here at the office, listen, if you've got your son's got a soccer game, cut out early. You know, go to the soccer game, right? The work will be there tomorrow. If you got to log in at night when you get home, do it. And so that's how you try to manage it. And but again, it's not easy. You know, I'm making it sound easy. It's not easy. So.
No, I think it was one of the speakers from AMAC conference in Chicago, and she basically said there's no such thing as work-life balance, because if you actually look at the scale and like how you balance it, you can't. So it's really just putting what percentage you're going to put into work, certain aspects of your life, and figuring out how to basically marry it all together so that you don't, burn out or go crazy.
And you need a good partner. Right, you have 2 kids, you just had a baby, right? So it takes a village, and it takes a village to be able to succeed and do it. And whether it's a grandmother, grandfather, aunt, uncle, husband, wife, whatever, it takes more. You can't do it by yourself. It's very hard to do it by yourself.
I second, third, fourth, and fifth that.
Yeah.
Joya, what about you? What's your greatest personal challenge in achieving the success you have today?
I think that like a lot of origin stories start with the hero's journey, a model of that, Joseph Campbell type of, Bambi and Luke Skywalker, all examples of that kind of narrative. And so mine wasn't so different from that, although I had been in the industry for some time, kind of on the work stream side of it. When my mom got sick, that was such a sudden shift, and I had not had expectations or preparedness to sit in the CEO role. And like I said before, this is such a heavy compliance-laden industry. There's a lot of levels of understanding, much more than getting the peanut M&Ms from the warehouse to the store. And so and at that time, we were very much a family-owned business. My brother worked with us. My dad was still pretty involved. And so some of the lessons there were that when personal tragedy hits, and we took actually a few years in a row, that was a pretty hard time for us as a family. We took about 5 or 6 years of consecutive, punches to the face, that you're exposed as a group. So when there's significant tragedy that happens, that exposes a lot of emotional challenges. And how do you keep afloat and fulfill your responsibilities to a team, or to your landlords, or to your partners? How do you create a system around you? And to piggyback on the story of the village, is how do you understand your resources or build the resources around you to sustain, so that it's not all on your shoulders? And I think that also speaks a little bit to balance, right? So if you're carrying the load on your own, day in and day out for years and years and years, it's just not sustainable. And not only do you not have good quality of life, but you're really at risk if anything happens to you, especially during COVID, right? People were getting sick. You can't get sick. You can't have babies. You can't have a life. And so those kind of lessons taught me the hard way to, one, enjoy life in the moment. So to be much more present than I had before. Because I know my mom had not had any intentions of retiring, and I was relying on that in my 20s and 30s, that I got a long way, I don't have to make any kind of decisions. I can ride out her business path for a long time, and then that wasn't there. And so using resources, understanding your resources, being creative, and again, building that system around you, be it your village, and it's comprehensive, your personal village, your work village. And like I said, my degree was in zoology. So I felt particularly unprepared to enter the business sector. And so I went back to school, essentially. I didn't go to traditional school, but I entered a program. I use a Vistage program, which is a CEO mentoring and panel group. There's a lot of organizations like that, and I still attend to this day. And so my ongoing education and development is critical, I think, to my community of success, because I have business professionals that support me in my endeavors that are completely separate from my personal life and those types of things. I have my emotional village, so my best friends, my partner, my children, my family. All those things are critical, and so those are where, and to use a scientific word better than work-life balance, I use work-life equilibrium. So that doesn't mean equal. That means, how is it in the right homeostasis environment for you? And sometimes that's not an every day or an every week. Sometimes there's a period of sowing and there's a period of harvesting.
Yeah.
So that kind of ebb and flow, those change too. So.
I love that. And on that note, with the spirit of harvesting, how do you all envision the future of the airport industry, and what role do you see your companies playing in shaping that future?
Well, it's a tough business. That's what I'll start out with. And I think that there has to be, it's a tough, some structural reworking of how our business terms work with an airport. I think we saw a lot. I think COVID really kind of opened the door on some challenges within our industry. A lot of our contracts are based on minimum annual guarantees and rents that you have to pay, whether you have $1 coming in or $100 coming in, and when no dollars were coming in. Whether you're a small company or a big company, that's a problem. So I think we need to think through how we can have a better balance in terms of how the economics of the industry works between tenants, which is basically what we are, and kind of our airport landlords and what have you. So I think we need to figure that out. Number one, I mentioned the whole funding thing for the ACDB program early on. I think that that has to be, it's a requirement or a mandate in these airports, which is great. The intent of the program is really, really good. But you gotta close the loop on it a little bit better, provide opportunities for these smaller companies, ACDB companies, to be able to get funding without having to put their house on, and risk losing their home and other things like that. I mean, again, have to have skin in the game, but we got to think that through a little bit differently, right? So, I mean, I think those are the two biggest things I would say is just really got to revisit the economic model a little bit more. Because of COVID, it really showed that there's a problem with it, and just the funding aspects of it.
I agree. Thank you
Awesome.
for putting that out, Carlos.
Yeah, no, of course, that's real.
Real quick, and I want to, as much as I love the parking lot conversation, I want to end with one question. If you were a superhero, all right, I want to know what and Ricky's gonna appreciate this question, but I'm gonna take it to another level. And because we are in Hispanic Heritage Month, I want to know what your best superhero name. It has to be of some type of Hispanic from a cultural standpoint. I want to know your best superhero name and what your gift is.
I love that.
Well, you answer
Martha,
first then.
Martha, I'm throwing you in the
Start us
mix
off with the
too.
answer. Martha.
Joya, you go
Mine.
first.
Right, I'm trying to give it to Martha.
Martha's going first. Okay, perfect.
I'm gonna say my superhero power would be love. I think that, especially growing up for me, that was one of the things that from a family perspective and being first generation, my family migrated from Mexico, and I feel like there's just so much that love can conquer. And I know it sounds so cheesy, but if I can approach any situation with a level of humility and empathy and truly love, I really strongly believe that a lot of our differences or all of that can be a sense of understanding that truly, for me, I feel like comes from a place of self-love, also in taking time and having and holding space for somebody else and their differences and where they come from and their backgrounds and their ideology or mindset that might differ from me. But if I can hold space for them and have a level of empathy and love and understanding, I feel like that is a place to start change within my own environment and the people that I interact with every day that could hopefully impact them. So I would say my superpower would be love.
So what's your superhero name?
That's the hard part.
Yeah. I don't know. Let me come back to that.
Captain Mi Amor.
Yes,
Yeah.
there you go.
How do you say captain in Spanish? Do you speak Spanish, Martha?
I do. Capitana, I guess I would say.
Capitana Amor. I like it.
I think
Go
I
ahead,
don't have a
Joya.
name, but I think my superpower is my curiosity. So I think that keeps me engaged in most things. Probably makes me a little bit annoying at times because I have a lot of whys. Why? I'm like a 4-year-old. Why do we do that? Why was that built that way? Who says we have to do it? And I'm a little bit of a nonconformist too. So I'm probably, shift into annoying sometimes, but that curiosity, I think, keeps me both present. It keeps me engaged. It leads to, again, some more of that problem solving, but really just knowledge finding. Like I'm genuine in my interest in who people are and why they do what they do, and how systems are made, and what moves people and motivates people. And that's fascinating to me. And I think that, puts me in a position with this business where it kind of scratches that itch, because it is so dynamic. We get such a variety in both our passengers, our customers that come through, but our team, that we work with. And although I have a lot of longevity on my back of the house team, certainly my front of the house team post-COVID turns over a lot. So we get to meet a lot of people that way, and our community work and our partners and our vendors and all that. There's a lot of movement that, feeds my curiosity. So I think that's
I need a name.
You helped her with her name. Let's see what you got.
I did, but
put it back.
My Spanish is un poquito, so I only know so many words to be able to help you. Mi español un poquito, so no sé.
No, that's
I'll think of it while Carlos gives us his power.
So I mean, yeah. So Martha and Joe have really two really good superpowers. I think for me is being authentic, right, in terms of who I am, and however I am today is the way I'll be tomorrow, and how I interface with whether it's someone that's cooking the back of our kitchen or the CEO of one of our airports, right? So it's just, I'm going to be comfortable in my own skin. I'm going to be true to me. At the same time, I think there are a lot of good things that were shared in terms of being, humble and having a level of humility in terms of how we do, and caring about our team members and so forth, and about other people as well. And we try to instill that. We are in the service industry, and this business, you have to be of service. You have to be willing to be of service for other people, right? And that's what we tell our team, that you've got to, my job is to be of service to my team, and ultimately our team's job is to be of service to their team, and that cashier is to be of service to the customer that's at the front counter. So I think those are some things. I'm struggling for a name, really, really tough. I was going to cop out and say Zorro, because that's the only name I could think of,
I mean, the fact that you gave me a name, Carlos, I'll take it. Ava said, and I might not be saying this right, but Reina Curiosa for Joya.
I love it.
So I don't know.
The-
I don't know.
Reina
the queen,
Curiosa.
yeah, Queen Reina, right? Is Queen, right?
Yeah,
Queen of Curiosity.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Carlos,
love it.
who
Thank you.
are you? We're going with Zorro. Well, I see you in
I
a
don't
black
know.
mask next
I'm
time,
open
sir.
to a name. Help me here. I'm open to a name, but
Whoever can figure out what his superhero name is gets the job. Period. Come back and let me know what it is. You guys, thank you all so much. I appreciate you taking the time. I appreciate everyone that has attended and also stayed with us for this Legends and Leapers parking lot conversation, the after show. You all are absolutely extraordinary, both in your own right as a legend and as a leaper. I thank you all so much. Martha, I thank you for filling in for Ricky, because clearly I've run him away, but I know you're stuck with me. So
I'm happy to be stuck with you.
You guys, you know, I absolutely love that we've been able to take the opportunity and take the time to really just acknowledge Hispanic Heritage Month, even though there's another 17, whatever, many days, the 15th through the 15th. And thank you all for bringing just a little different perspective and getting to know you all a little bit more. I've known Joya for literally since I've been in the industry, and I did not know that she got her degree in zoology. So there's that. You learn something new all the time. But thank you all so much. I hope you all... Oh yeah, go ahead, Martha. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, no, you're fine. You're fine. No worries. I was just going to mention one thing earlier at the start of the call. You had asked, like, why is Hispanic Heritage Month from the 15th to the 15th? And originally, so fun fact, Hispanic Heritage Month was originally just a week. LBJ, I believe, is the one who implemented Hispanic Heritage Month, and it was originally a week. And it was selected from that time period because that is when most anniversaries of independence for Latin American countries. So typically, like, I know Mexican independence is September 16th, Costa Rica, Guatemala, Honduras, or several Latin American countries that their Independence Days falls during that period. So that's why they did it. Just seems random, but there was a little bit of method to the madness.
It's not random at all. Martha, but knowledge is power, and I appreciate that. And I feel like you should have said it earlier when we had the.
I was going to, but I didn't want to interrupt, and I was like, we'll definitely close with it.
Ricky interrupts me all the time, child. I'm used to be interrupted. I got 2 babies and a husband. I am used to be interrupted. You should have interrupted me. That is amazing.
Should have. I'm so sorry.
No, but now I know, and I'm gonna take that knowledge and carry it on and let people know, like, this is why it's from the 15th through the 15th. Did you guys know that?
No.
Boom.
Fun facts.
Appreciate that, Martha. Excuse me. Is it Amor Capitana or Capitana Amor? How does it, is it?
I think let's do Capitana Amor.
Okay. Gracias, Capitana Amor. But no, thank you all so much. This has been absolutely amazing. If I had to pick a show to be my first day back from maternity leave, this would definitely be it. I really do appreciate you all taking the time and even staying after with us. But if you haven't already, slide into Carlos's DMs with your resume. But both of them are on LinkedIn, and I actually think Pauline came through with some contact information as well, so feel free to scroll up in the chat. You all, again, have an absolute blessed rest of your week, and I hope you all find your work-life equilibrium.
I like that. Yeah.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Thanks a bunch.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.